Good morning and welcome to the Core Connection. I'm Mira Rubin here with you on Enlightened World Network, and this morning's topic is hammers and nails. When you're a hammer, everything looks like a nail. So we're going to get to look at how the context, the filters through which we look at the world, color our entire experience, and maybe explore ways that we can broaden those lenses. But before we get started, let's take a minute or two to get present. Let's take a deep breath in through your nose and hold it. And imagine clean, crisp oxygen flooding your lungs, flowing into your bloodstream, nourishing all your cells, all your organs, bringing vital life energy to your body and being. And as you exhale, exhale any tension, stress, negativity, fatigue. And now let's take another deep breath in through your nose and hold it. This time, imagine brilliant, bright light lighting you up from the inside out, illuminating, electrifying, and energizing all your cells, all your molecules, your electrons, creating a brilliant beam of light and energy from your heart out into the world. And as you exhale, exhale any remaining tension, stress, negativity, fatigue. And now let's press our palms together. Vigorously rub your hands together to feel those sensations of friction, temperature, motion, pressure, and the tickling and tingling when you stop, and allow all of those sensations to bring you present right here, right now, into this remarkable physical form that enables you to experience life. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So, hammers and nails. This was just this was from a conversation that's been an ongoing conversation with the client that is just so powerful and fascinating, and how we can only see what we see from our own lens, and breaking out of that lens can be very, very challenging. And it was so fascinating. So we were talking about stress, and this person's kind of go-to response is to fight. And they've been in they grew up in a really traumatic environment and learned to fight for what they believe in. And so fighting is synonymous with caring about something, believing in something. And fighting is also synonymous from their lens of something that matters. If something matters, you fight for it. And meantime, this person suffers from pretty extreme exhaustion. And we all know that being in fight or flight, or being in fight mode, is exhausting. It's exhausting to be constantly on high alert or on defense or ready to fight all the time. It's just incredibly taxing to the nervous system, right? So here, this fighting is what's exhausting this person. And also fighting is what proves that you care about something. So that in itself is a really difficult relationship to see. Well, actually, it's not even visible. It's not even visible. And that was the thing that was so amazing in this conversation with this person is we went through the process to say, okay, well, fighting is exhausting, right? And so I said, well, what if you didn't have to fight? What if you didn't have to fight the chaos? What if you could just let the chaos be the chaos and you didn't have to fight it? And if we didn't fight, it's synonymous with giving up and not doing anything. So in disentangling this, we get to see that you can take action without having to fight, right? That you get to take appropriate action, but you don't have to be enraged. You don't have to be stressed out. You don't have to be embattled. You can just take appropriate action without all the emotional aggravation, upset, anger, rage, tension. Without all of that, you can just be responsive. Well, it was so fascinating because that was inconceivable. Literally, it was like this person's brain was going, that does not compute, that does not compute. Like it just fried the circuits. It was so interesting. And it was such a perfect example of how when we're a hammer, everything's a nail. And, when you're trying to communicate into hammerdom, that there are other opportunities or other options, it's like the context just can't hold that information. And it's so obvious to me that when for instance, fighting is exhausting, what happens if you just stop fighting? And I get for this person that it was giving up, but it's not giving up. When we allow things to be as they are, then we can respond to them appropriately, right? When we are not caught in it shouldn't be this way, and I'm going to fight righteously for the way it should be, we can see that there's a better option and move toward that better option without it being an act of aggression and anger and hatred and annoyance and frustration, right? We can take appropriate action from a place of wholeness and balance. And in taking that appropriate action, we have the potential, we have a greater potential to actually redirect something or correct something from a place of aligned presence than we do from a place of reactive anger and frustration. When we're angry and frustrated and annoyed, then we're creating a greater opposition. It's just the way it works, so what we resist persists or proliferates even. So it's such an interesting dynamic to recognize that our frameworks, the context through which we view the world, so powerfully impacts everything that we perceive, everything we think, everything we feel. And so here, like this person recognized that this stress was exhausting to them, and the idea of just releasing the stress, releasing the need to try and fight the way that things are, it wasn't even something that they could grasp. They couldn't even conceive of it. It just fritzed their brain to think about it. It's remarkable the way that we silo ourselves with our perspectives, by imposing these beliefs and limits upon ourselves that then enforce blind spots for us, that require a sorting out an elimination of certain information where it just totally just doesn't compute. There's no way to conceive of it. And it was so fascinating because I said to this person, when you get this, you're going to be amazed that you didn't see it before. When you get that to stop struggling, what there is to do is to stop struggling, right? It doesn't mean giving up or giving in. It means taking a different stance, rather than railing against the storm. The storm doesn't care. The storm is the storm. Good morning, April. How wonderful to have you here with us this morning. We're talking about hammers and nails, and when you're a hammer, everything looks like a nail. And we're really talking about the contexts through which we experience life, and how those contexts truly profoundly limit our perceptions, or define the limits of our perceptions, where certain things within our context are just purely inconceivable. So what was going on with this one person that I've been speaking about is that they were saying it shouldn't be this hard. It shouldn't be so hard to get this thing done. And what was happening is that there were a lot of frustrations along getting a water heater replaced, mundane kind of thing. But the aggravation level was escalating and escalating. And why? Because there were all these setbacks that were occurring on the way to getting this water heater handled. And each setback added to the aggravation, so that the stress factor and the aggravation factor around this thing was just out of control. And part of it was because this person had an internal story about it shouldn't be like this. It shouldn't be so hard. It should have been taken care of already. And the signal or the sign that we might be going down a path of resistance, that we may be creating our own aggravation, is when we get into the should conversation. So things should be easier. It shouldn't be this hard. This should have been done a long time ago. And so that's a really good indicator that we are fighting against the way that things are. I'm not saying to be complicit or even compliant with the way things are, but when we allow ourselves to go into a space of stress and aggravation over the way that things are, we're creating greater resistance, and we're exhausting our neurology, our nervous system. And so we can say, wow, I'd really prefer that things would be different. That's fine. And they are the way they are. So given that things are the way they are, what's an appropriate action? And I can relieve myself of all the anxiety and the aggravation by saying, okay, it is as it is. Now what? Versus it shouldn't be this way, because that is essentially equivalent to railing against the storm. The storm's the storm. It's going to do what it does. There's all kinds of chaos in life. That's how life is. And the better able we are to roll with the circumstances, to recognize the circumstances, and to respond appropriately to those circumstances, the better management of our own energy that we'll be able to achieve. So where do we choose to spend our energy? Do we want to be insisting that everything's a nail because we're a hammer? Or are we willing to moderate our energy? Are we willing to be present to recognizing recognizing things as they are? I mean, that's really what it comes down to, is how do we allow ourselves to expand to include this. So this was great. I had another conversation with a client yesterday that was about how they utilize this notion in their lives. So a direct way to navigate this kind of situation where we might be having frustration or upset. So we often talk in transformational work, we often talk about letting go. And letting go, especially in my opinion, especially in Western culture, we're not taught about letting go. We're talking about acquisition, acquiring, right? And not that that's a good thing, but it is a fact that we are taught to accumulate, right? So the idea of letting go is harder maybe. Anyway, what if instead of letting go, we expand to include? So instead of letting go of our anger, we expand to include our anger, and we expand to include our joy, and we expand to include what's happening in the world, and we expand to include that we didn't like it, and we expand to include our reaction. As we expand to include it all, we become all of it, which is the same result really as letting go, because we let go and we let go and we become nothing, right? No thing. And as we expand to include, we become everything, which is also equivalent to no thing, no specific thing. It is the multitudes. And so as we expand to include the multitudes, we are becoming this vast, all-inclusive presence, right? So the example of this, one of my clients was on the golf course and hit a really bad shot, and initially got all kinds of upset with themselves, and then recognized, oh, I can expand to include this too. And the upset just dissipated. The upset just went away because, good morning, Rosalind. Welcome. Great to have you here with us this morning. We're talking about hammers and nails and the context that we create for our experience of the world, and how our experience is limited or defined by that context. That if you're a hammer, everything looks like a nail, for instance. But anyway, so this person was, by expanding to include that they might have a bad golf shot, they were able to release the upset around it. It just dissipated immediately, because it's like, oh, okay, that's part of it too. And so what if when we are annoyed about something, to expand to include that and that moment of frustration, and then we can let go of the frustration. It's like, okay, the water heater it still isn't installed. We have this, that, and the other thing to do. Okay, next, where do we choose to spend our energy? And it is spending our energy, right? Where are we directing our attention and our energy? And this person that I was originally speaking with experiences great exhaustion. And it's no wonder, because everything is a fight, literally. Everything is a fight. Anything that matters, certainly, by definition for this person, if it matters to me, of course I'm going to fight for it instead of embrace it, enjoy it, cherish it. I'm going to fight for it. And so, that's their hammer, is I having to fight for everything. And that's by definition just terrifically exhausting, right? Terrifically exhausting to have to be fighting all the time. And so there's like a matter of fact way of being that allows us to truly be present to what's going on and to then respond accordingly. There are certain things that call for anger. There are certain circumstances that call for an anger type response. And when that's appropriate, it's appropriate. There are certain circumstances that do call for a fight. When it's appropriate, it's appropriate. But all the time, no. It's kind of like getting locked, like a car getting locked into overdrive all the time. If you're always running at high speed, ultimately you're going to run out of energy, right? You need some time to be able to rest and recoup. It's not sustainable. It's not a way to be able to effectively manage one's energy. And so what was fascinating and what helped to fry the circuit, I'm hoping, well, time will tell, is that this person believes that anything worthwhile is worth fighting for, right? So I said, is your health worth fighting for? And they said, yes. And so if your health is worth fighting for, and stress is a big portion of your exhaustion, what is it going to look like to fight the stress? And the paradox here is that in order to fight the stress, you need to stop fighting all the time. And so like their brain went kind of haywire. They didn't really know how to process that, because in order to fight for my health, I need to stop fighting. It's like it just did not compute. Hopefully it made way into their other than conscious awareness to allow them to release some of this constant fight sort of response. But it's fascinating. Like if you tell a hammer, hey, you know what, maybe you're not actually a hammer, maybe you're more of an all-purpose kind of tool. Maybe there are other functions that you're capable of other than pounding in a nail. And I just find our beingness and our thinking and our minds and our constructs to be so endlessly fascinating. When we're able to step back and see, when we're able to step back and get kind of a bird's eye view on this situation, we are endlessly fascinating in the way that we construct our reality. And I am just ever curious about it and rather awed by the worlds that we create for ourselves. on all spectrum, the whole spectrum, whether it's the joy and the bliss and the love and the um empathy and connection, or on the other extreme, or anywhere in between, the way that we construct our realities, it's remarkable. And so there's another person who has experienced anxiety, like paralyzing, crippling anxiety throughout their entire lives. And we've made tremendous, tremendous progress. And now they're writing a book, and this character in the book is kind of their idealized self. And the thing is that the character in the book is emerging from them. And what they said is that as they're writing this book, that character is coming more to life, and they're wanting to embody that character in their being. And it's just a remarkable thing to see the healing power. What a powerful, powerful healing device this story is for this person, where they are bringing this other aspect of themselves into being, invoking it in the written word, and then beginning to embody it in their day-to-day lives more and more. And it's just so remarkable to see the ways that we can invent to transform ourselves, and to transform our reality, and to transform our being. It's really quite miraculous. It's really just, I see daily how we create our own realities, and in such profound degree. I mean, like we really truly do create our own reality. And we are either the star of our show, or the victim, or the prisoner, or the, like any place on the spectrum. It is just remarkable. So Rosalind says, the little girl version of me wants to be loved and protected. There's a notion that someone other than myself will provide that. Well, Rosalind, we've been raised in a context of Prince Charming is going to come and save us, or Princess Charming, or whoever it is going to come and whisk us away and save us and make everything better. And that's probably one of the most insidious fairy tales that we've been raised with, right? Is to put our power in the hands of another, put our well-being in the hands of another. And that's part of childhood, right? When we're dependent upon somebody else to be caring for us and to be taking care of us. And, so we grow up and we really want that. And we can do that for ourselves. So I invite you to go visit with your little girl and give her all kinds of love and all kinds of protection. And then that makes you stronger and more whole to be able to have a real relationship in the world as a whole human, rather than as someone who is looking to somebody else to save them. So with that, I'm Mira Rubin. This is the Core Connection. I go live each weekday morning at 9 a.m. Eastern here on the Enlightened World Network Facebook page and YouTube channel. And I am so grateful to you for engaging with me in these conversations and musings. And until next time, so much love to you.